Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Beamer, and I'm a doc student in the Ed Psych and Ed Tech program at Michigan State University. And I'm here today with another good friend, Dr. John Ranellucci. Dr. Ranellucci is an assistant professor of educational psychology in the Department of Educational Foundations and Counseling at Hunter College. So first, I want to thank you, John, for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
First question for you, John. How was the transition process going from being a PhD student to a postdoc to a new faculty member? And what's some of the advice that you would give to those who are also planning to pursue this route?
I think that the transition went really well. It took some time to adjust to the new institutions that I was at, and then adjusting in terms of the role. So I think that a doctoral student and a faculty member, the roles are pretty clearly defined, whereas for the postdoc, it was sometimes tricky to figure out where I fit in. Do I fit more with the faculty? Do I fit more with the students? In terms of advice, I'd say in your postdoc and in your PhD, try to learn as much as you can, meet as many people as you can. When you leave one institution, I found it useful to make a point to maintain my professional network, keep in contact with my friends and colleagues, but also to spend time meeting new people and learning from new people. And I also found it really important to look for new opportunities or what options are out there, because sometimes just Googling what courses are being offered around, you can find something that's really helpful for you.
So along those same lines, and I think something a lot of people will be interested in, how does the amount of work you're doing now compare to the amount of work you did in grad school and maybe even the amount of work you did as a postdoc?
So it might be hard to believe that you end up working more. And I did work a lot in grad school and during my postdoc, but I think that being a faculty member, the workload definitely increases. But it's also a different type of work. So I feel like now as a faculty member, I spend a lot more time teaching, and I think that that's because of the institution that I'm at. But I'm also spending a lot of time in meetings and on different committees. And there's a lot more paperwork than I realized. So that's taking up a considerable amount of time.
So you mentioned teaching a little bit there. Could you talk a little bit about what the teaching load is like at your university, and how you manage your time to fulfill all of the other responsibilities that you have to take care of?
So I think traditionally Hunter College is a teaching institution. It's maybe in the process of redefining itself as an emerging research university. So there are a few new initiatives to try to promote more active research agendas here. When I started, it was a 4 and 3 teaching load. So that's teaching 4 courses in the fall, 3 courses in the spring. With that, I got 24 credits of course release that I could use within the first 5 years. And the goal of that is to give new untenured faculty time to work and develop their research productivity. And there's also a lot of other ways to get some time to protect your research. So if you apply for a grant, I know that there's something you can apply for to get some time away from teaching, or if you're writing up a manuscript, you can get some additional time for research and away from teaching. But if you choose to work in an institution like that, it's really important for you to like teaching. I think that at Hunter College, they really value teaching and high quality teaching. So it's really nice to be in a place that you can balance both the teaching and research commitments.
Definitely. So you kind of alluded to this. So thinking about how do you go about mentoring and advising students, and what advice do you have for someone who hasn't had much mentoring experience? A lot of times we don't have a lot of mentoring experience, especially in graduate school. So what advice might you have for someone?
I think it's really important to get to know who your students are. We can't advise or mentor students in the same way. Certain students have particular interests, have particular needs, particular goals, or have different future plans. And I think that based on this profile of the student, we need to change how we mentor our students. I think it's also important to acknowledge that mentoring is more than just content oriented. So of course we need to mentor and train our students, but I think it's really important to think about the emotional support that that graduate students in particular might need these days. So recent research is suggesting that there's mental health issues or higher levels of depression and anxiety than the general population among graduate students. And this is concerning, and I think that as mentors, we can really support our students who are clearly in need right now.
So thinking about requirements for your position, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to talk a little bit about what are your department's requirements for tenure, and what are you doing now, and what can faculty members be doing to work towards that as early career faculty members?
I think one good strategy is to look at the applications of your colleagues. So look for somebody who has recently gone up for tenure, look to see what their CV looks like, what their service commitment was, how much they taught, and then try to estimate how you can end up with a CV or an application that's similar. One bit of advice that I've learned recently is that I feel like it's really important to try to find some service that you care about, service that you're interested in. I'm lucky enough to be working for the Office of Academic and Student Affairs, and it's a committee here in the School of Education. And it's been really enriching. It's really nice to get to meet different people in different positions, not all teachers or researchers, but who share a common goal of supporting our students' needs.
So thinking about the process of when you're applying for these jobs, what would you advocate new faculty to negotiate for once they receive an offer?
I think that in the first year, a heavy teaching load can be really difficult. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of just learning the ins and outs of the institution. Getting a funded graduate student or some funding for your research, some type of startup package would be really, really helpful, especially if you're starting a new research group. I think that takes a lot of time and effort, and the more resources you have for that, the more helpful it would be.
Definitely. John, this has been some great advice. I'm hoping you can leave us with one last bit of advice here. What advice would you give to current students or postdocs on the job market that are currently looking for faculty positions, or that are going to be looking for faculty positions pretty soon?
I think just acknowledging that it's going to be really difficult and to be persistent. I think it's important to work with a lot of people and to get a lot of feedback on your different application, different parts of your application, and let your professional network know when you're starting to look for jobs. Because I think a really good way to get access to jobs that are tailored to something you might be interested in is to just make sure that people who know you know that you're looking for a job and what type of job. Definitely attend conferences, go to AERA, go to the Motivation SIG dinner, go to these places and talk with as many people as you can. And lastly, I think having a supportive partner is really, really helpful, or friends or family, some type of social network to just help you along, because sometimes it's going to be difficult. And I think having some sort of support is really, really helpful.
Definitely. Well, John, I want to thank you for talking with me today. This was great.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right, John, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Take care.
You too.